The BeastNet Canadian Edition podcast is proudly brought to you by
Grit Farm Fitness. Here we discuss all things obstacle course racing related, as well as
endurance, conditioning, running, rucking, and much more.
Welcome to the BeastNet Canadian Edition.
You can come on screen. You can say hi.
Oh, no.
Okay. No, you said she's good.
Thank you.
She's not wearing pants.
All
right.
That's not true.
It only shows from the waist up. I'm not wearing pants either. It's okay.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Pants?
It's business casual.
Wear pants?
No, there was nothing in the memo about wearing pants. And I guarantee some of this will go on even though we haven't introduced yet. But that's okay.
You know,
So
my shirts are long enough. They cover most things.
well, you're not a tall guy. But anyway, so welcome to BeastNet anyway. It doesn't matter. We'll just jump in here and then they can edit whatever they want. I really don't care. I'm here with as they said, not your average Joes. Definitely. I was going to call them the 100-mile Joes, but not your average Joes is better. So Joe Perry and Joe Zack, how you guys doing?
Who are you talking
Are we
to?
going alphabetically?
Yeah, go alphabetically. Go Joe Perry.
Oh,
Because his internet's going to die soon enough, so we got to get his content in fast.
yeah.
Plus, the nursing home wants him back in his bed before too late, right?
Absolutely.
Sorry, Joe. Go.
I'm late. Go here. Okay, see ya.
And that's all we have time for
Sure.
today. Thank you very much. All right, so I might as well actually go. Let's start with Joe Perry. Joe, you are very well known throughout the Tough Mudder community. And again, the reason we're here is because both Joe Perry and Joe Zack at 100 miles at Virtual World's Toughest Mudder, finishing second and third, which still means they had to go to work the next day. When someone said, "Did you win?" They had to go, "No, fuck off." So it's all right. So we'll start with Joe Perry. Joe, like I said, you're really well known throughout the all the Tough Mudder community, World's Toughest Mudder specifically. If you don't recognize him, it's because this is actually what he looks like without the face paint. And, so definitely not. If you don't recognize Joe Zack, that's because no one knows who he is. That's okay. So
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Joe, why don't you start us off with
why
why don't you just start us off with a little bit of background? How'd you get into the Tough Mudder scene?
Well, I got old and I used to play soccer and then, all these kids and stuff. So I had to find a new sport where I could compete against people my age, and that helps a lot. So, and I just I don't have a sense of smell. So that's good. I could do a sport where it didn't matter if there was reeking things, I had to jump in and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I just like getting dirty and pretty stubborn, and I don't know.
Well, the lack of sense of smell really helps a lot, I would assume, because I know a lot of times that mud is not all just mud. I mean, sometimes these things happen a lot of horse farms, and it might be mostly mud, kind of mud, perhaps mud. I don't know.
People say, well, that stinks. All right, I'll take your word for it.
One of your claims to fame, though, is how many Tough Mudders have you done now?
Well, see,
It's a rough estimate now.
You don't count. I don't count my virtual events, and I don't count the half mudders or whatever. So 138 is the current total toughest tough worlds and regular tough mudders I've done. So.
And are you top of the heap, or is still Jim Campbell?
Yeah, and I think Joe Van Tassel passed.
Oh, really?
Too. The Joe thing. Joe's like mud.
I won't disagree.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Joe Zack, how about you? Because I did a little background check, just creep you on Instagram and Facebook there, and it wasn't just because I was cruising or anything like that. I was just legitimately curious because we were going to talk.
I could send you pics if you want.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I have seen Joe Fancy Pants. I mean, you have some of the slamminest tights going, but
I'm running low right now. They're starting to split and wear thin. I got to get some new pair. It's very true.
So how far back do you go? How did you get started in this? Because I mean, I've seen pictures from adventure racing, from bike racing, from other OCR. Like Joe Perry's predominantly, he's a Tough Mudder guy with the occasional dabble here and there. You seem to be much more widespread.
It's the flexibility thing. No, I'm mainly a Tough Mudder guy. I got into it 2012. It actually goes back farther than that, a few years. I was feeling a little overweight because my cousin, who's just a mountain of a man, just muscle on top of muscle. Big, long story. I was going kayaking with him. He's actually considerably taller than me too. He got onto his weight scale. he was 186.9 pounds. And then he asked me if I would to jump on, and I weighed in at 187 pounds. And not being a tall guy, that was a lot of weight for me to carry. I got into amateur boxing just to mess around, to lose some weight, had a lot of fun. A friend said, hey, want to do an obstacle race with me? Because you'll probably get punched in the head less. And it was true. We did Tough Mudder in Toronto, had an absolute blast. Someone on the bus said, I wonder if my time qualified me for World's Toughest Mudder. And there were 3 of us that said, what's that? They explained it was like that Tough Mudder we just did, but for 24 hours. And we all said, well, that sounds stupid. Where do we sign up? And we did, and went to New Jersey, and we were hooked from there.
So
really,
that was back in Jersey. So that would have been what, that was like
2012.
Hey,
2012?
check this out. You see my shirt?
You wearing 2012 right now? Raceway Park.
Raceway Jersey 2012. Oh my
It is
God.
2012. Very nice.
So now,
Yeah, so that hooked me right there, and I really haven't looked back.
so
I have done other obstacle races and stuff like that, and adventure racing. It's a whole different story. My wife, teacher at a private school, she showed me a video of some of her kids running through a stream, and they're wearing pinnies. I said, get me information about that. I want in. She said, you're probably a little old to run. And I said, I'll show you. And I hooked up with Don't Get Lost in their adventure running kids program. And I've been volunteering with them since then. So it's just been a lot of fun. But that and other obstacle races, you got to try.
Yeah.
You got to try whatever comes your way, right?
Oh yeah, well that's me. I'm all over the map. I do everything. I am like I'm an OCR whore. I have no loyalties to anyone.
I mean, my heart and soul is with Tough Mudder. It's just that much fun. But you gotta sample the goods.
So 2012, were you both at 2012?
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't know each other.
I was gonna say, yeah. Did you know each other? Did you meet there? Because I mean, obviously, you don't live incredibly far apart.
No.
No, we ended up meeting the next April. Where were we? Was it Ohio?
Yep. Ohio was the
one.
first one, I think.
Emily, my better 5/8, something like that.
Quite a bit
I'm not
taller.
gonna lie.
Substantially.
She met MJ because she heard someone cheering for me, and that wasn't her. And she said, "Who's this cheering for my Joe?" She was cheering for a different Joe. We found out later. And met
Is she
them,
gonna
and
go
then
out there and just like slap the choke on her and put her down?
No, she was waiting for me to come around the corner. Was going to pee on my leg to mark her territory, but but no. Then I got to meet Joe and MJ the next day when we were soaked in rain and in the freezing cold. It wasn't freezing, but it wasn't warm. You remember that one? That was a long time ago.
Yeah. It was cold. Early spring stuff is kind of cold, Funny how that works.
So if we fast forward through all that, and then we go to essentially what we're going to talk about today, virtual toughest mudder and virtual world's toughest mudder. We were all there actually for toughest as well, but we'll glaze over that and go to the world's toughest because 24 is more than 12. 24 is more than 12. Yeah, and you probably don't want to talk about the 12-hour one anyway.
I'll talk about it. It's fine. I did my 2.5 laps and went to sleep on the court.
So, Joe, why don't you set the scene for Joe Perry? Why don't you set the scene for us as to how we were all set up for World's Toughest?
Worlds are tougher, like toughest, the first one or the second one?
Second one, 24 hours.
You're glossing right over. Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah, we'll go right to that.
Obviously, like Worlds is the best 24 hours of the year. I mean, that's what I tell everybody out there. And we were supposed to be in Dallas and we all had places booked. And then this whole pandemic thing, I don't know if people are up on, there's a thing called coronavirus. I don't know.
I'll Google it. Haven't heard of it yet.
Yeah. So that kind of like changed things. So we weren't allowed to cross the border and that sort of thing. They didn't hold it. So they gave us that option to do it virtually. So I just happen to have a whole bunch of land here and a quiet little dirt road and a barn full of obstacles. And I thought, hey, why don't we do it here? And I thought I'd invite a few people. And then I thought, I thought maybe there's only a handful of people in Ontario that I knew. And then I got thinking, and then there's, and then big list of people that I've accumulated over the years. I invited and a lot showed up for some reason. And when we did the one in August, a lot of them came back from that and thought we'd have twice as much fun. And here we are. So
you were right. We did.
Yeah. So it was I think my whole life has been leading up to this moment. I got the Tough Mudder and I had gotten to Worlds, and then I got a barn, and like it all culminated in that moment. And you guys were a part of it.
So when you were starting the race, Joe, and we'll get to Joe Zack a little bit after this one, but when you started the race, I mean, you had set goals, did you not? And you know, I'm sure you had a game plan in mind as to what you wanted to hit, the mileage you wanted to hit. Was 100 miles on the charts?
Nope, not for me.
So what was it?
So my best real worlds was 75 back in 2013, and I've been after another silver bib since then, and I've come close. I got 65, 70, just I couldn't hit that 75 again. So when they announced that there were going to be mileage bibs, I said, well, I got to get me another silver bib, and then anything above that's gravy. I mean, I got to be honest, I did the math, and I thought, all right, based on how I did in August doing the 12-hour run, like I got 55 miles, well, double that, and I factor in fatigue that, you know, maybe it's possible, but I didn't think I'd get to 100. So I thought maybe 90, maybe 95, but 100. But then there was this guy on the course here, and he kept going, and I kept chasing him, and he kept going. And he was even walking, and I couldn't catch up to him, and it made me cry. And so I never quit. And then eventually he stopped. So I thought, well, I better stop too. And next thing you know, we both got 100 miles.
Well, I will say you're bang on with this, because I was out there a couple of times doing what I would call accompaniment laps, because I'm not going to run 100 miles. That's just ludicrous. But I would go out there and I'd be running our laps and just see Joe Zack actually walking and still passing us. You know, like, so we were doing like a slow jog, and he was doing this power walk and going fast. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense.
No,
that's
his
not
legs
right.
are this long. You see, measure them. They're that long. His legs. You're like,
I know. Like,
Hey, it's my torso that's short. Like my belt is here. I'm legs for the rest of my body. I've got the legs of someone like 6'8". I've got the torso of like my 2.5-year-old son. We share shirts.
So Joe Zack, what about you, man? What was your goal going in there? Like,
my goal was to do better than that. The toughest.
So you were going for 15.
Yeah, I was going for 15. No, I've never gone into. I went into one Worlds with a mileage goal, and I saw a lot of people around me try mileage goals and either shoot way too high, get discouraged like halfway through, and then just quit, or shoot way too low, achieve it, and then just quit when there was obviously more left. And since then, I never gave myself that mileage goal. Just try and be out there for the 24 hours, try to run for as much as possible, and cut your pits down to the minimum. And that's worked for me in the past. This was more of the same, and that was my goal, and I kind of stuck to it. Although I'm not going to lie, I went out way faster than I should have, and I knew I was going way too fast off the hop. But I had a friend that had just run a virtual marathon a few weeks before that, and he posted a really nice marathon time, and it was a time that I didn't know that I was able to keep or run near. I didn't know if I'd be able to hang with this guy if it came down to running a marathon with him. He ran like a 3:19 or something like that. And so kind of doing the math in my head, I wanted to keep my laps to around 40 minutes running for the first 5 of them. So that's what I did. I tried to stay that sub 40 for the first 5 laps, and that's what I did. And I went way too fast, and it hurt for the laps after that. I scaled back the next 5. I had to scale back the next 5. And by the time it got to after the 75 miles, I was walking. Luckily enough, I spent a lot of this year, my buddy John has been doing these hikes for CMHA, the Canadian Mental Health Association. I've been joining them on those, and basically we've been hiking the Bruce Trail, doing about 75, 80 kilometers in a day, once a month, that kind of thing. And he's a tall guy. He's not quite a foot taller than me, but I mean, I don't like standing beside him for pictures.
So he's at least 5'8" then.
Yes. So it's a lot for me to keep up with him. So when he's hiking through there, I've got to be either jogging or I got to put on a march. And that's what I got for those last 5 laps. I was marching like I was chasing him. And that's, it got to the point where I was looking at my time about 9 hours to go, saying, I've got nothing left. I can't run, but can I walk a marathon in 9 hours? And
Yeah.
yeah, I could.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you did. And I'll say straight out for the both of you, like I was lucky enough to be part of the pit crew for this, and both of your performances amazed me in different ways. So with Joe Zack, I saw the same thing too. I'm like, he is going out too hot, because we're keeping a vague track of everybody's lap times. And I'm like, he's going too hot. He needs to slow down. And I was worried you were going to relive toughest over again and just, and I'm
I
like,
got some sleep leading into this.
yeah. So I'm like, he's going out too hot. But then it's like you say, is all of a sudden he just kept going and going, and his pace was good and good and good. And then when he started walking, we're like, he's walking, but he's still got to be walking at like a 5-mile-an-hour clip, like he was cruising. So it was amazing. So I mean, your performance was great in the way that it was overwhelming the way you kept the pace going. Joe Perry, yours was different, and I mentioned this before to you. I was like, at 60 miles, I was looking at Joe and I thought, I don't see how he can go another lap. He looks like the world has just destroyed him. Mm-hmm. And then every lap after that, he kept coming in, and it's like the world has destroyed him, and back out he goes. And he looked like a farm tractor trying to get going off the start line. But then you'd see him halfway through the lap, and he was at a good steady pace. And I was like, can't believe it. Like it was just amazing.
Every single lap was a pretty much the same thing over again. I would come in from a lap, go, eat, drink, do the obstacle, and then and I'd roll. But that amount of time that I'd stopped, it was like 10 minutes or whatever, I seized up. And getting back out there was, agony. I mean, walking was painful. And that first K, it was every single lap was just, okay, legs, let's do this, legs, get move. It was a walk and then a little bit faster. So I did that whole Forrest Gump thing where the came off, and eventually about a mile in, I was running again. I was like, oh, all right. And then I kept getting faster and faster. And by the end of every single lap, the last 2K after we did that turnaround, I was flying. I was like, I feel great. I feel wonderful. And then when I come to the barn, I'm feeling great. And then the repeat of rigor mortis sets in again. I have to get everything cranked back up again, go back out for another lap. So yeah, I looked dead at the beginning of every lap, but felt rejuvenated by the end. So,
but to me, it just showed a lot. Oh, go ahead, Joe. So,
no, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen Joe we've been at most of the worlds together or around each other or seeing each other there, and I know this guy can grind like few other people. And like I'm watching him, and I knew I had some distance on him early on.
A lap and a half. You were a lap and
a half.
Moderate distance.
At my height, I had a lap and a half on you, and I couldn't let up. Like he was going to catch me if I didn't keep going, and I knew it's his home turf, right? So he's not going to let me out of his sights for that long, and I just had to keep going. But like I said, seeing him grind, and I did see him come in those couple times where he does look like death warmed over, but I know he's not going to stop. He's got until 1:00 in the afternoon. He's going to use every minute of that time to get it done.
Yeah, I'm stubborn. Like this was my 9th Worlds, and I've only slept once, and that was the first year, 2012. And I was part of a team, and the whole team decided to sleep. So that was the only time in those 9 years that I've slept at Worlds. Every other time, I'm out there sucking every last minute off that clock to try to get as far as I can. So, and I've even there was a toughest in Boston that I did, and I looked at the clocks like, nope, there's not enough time to get another lap in, but I'm going anyway. I want to get 3 miles of the 5 miles in. And I was just determined I was going to get whatever it was. I didn't mean anything because I wasn't going to get a complete lap, but I just wanted to go get every second on that course that I can, but I'm not right in the head. So anyway.
And
I remember that.
Hmm? So anyway, I think what made a lot of this, what the virtual thing, like I said, virtual races have been a bit of a, polarizing topic where some people love them, some people hate them. I would probably say more people are against them than for them. But this one almost wasn't a virtual race.
No.
Because we had a community there, which made it interesting. So we weren't really playing by our own rules and everything. We were following the rules of the system, but because of the community that was there, it wasn't a virtual race. And I really wanted to make sure we did bring this up. Deanna Braz brought all these bibs for the 50 miles, 75 miles, leader bib, the sprint lap bib. Like, I mean, it was fantastic. And I just want to make sure we mentioned that she did that, because I know my fiance, she got her 50 miles and got to put on the bib. And that was really cool to be able to see that. And so I just wanted to shout out Deanna. Thank you very much. We all appreciated that. That really made it.
No, you know what? And it's a great thing to bring up. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not the most sentimental person. I don't have a big room where I display my stuff. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just not me. I, I wash my stuff after the race. I fold it up and I tuck it neatly into a drawer that sits in the basement. My kid opens it every 6 months, says, "Hey, what's this?" and brings one out and says, "Hey, what's this?" and she wears it, and that's what it is. But when she brought that, she had the leader bib out there and she brought it out, and I don't remember if she put it on me or if MJ put it on me, but I don't know if it was the exhaustion or just the whole thing, but it almost brought a tear to my eye. It was a lot of fun, and it felt really good. It was great.
Yeah, it made it feel like the real deal, and like I said, I think a lot of those bibs. I mean, like you say, cheese ball as it is, they brought out a lot of emotional moments. Chris Oates had a big one when he hit his 75.
Yes.
Susan Rice with her 50, Marika with her 50. I mean, 75 for Jules. There was just so many, right? The sprint lap bib. That was, had I known they had a sprint lap bib, I would have entered just to blast 5 miles and grab that bib. It was great. It was fantastic. And the atmosphere, and of course, Joe and MJ and the whole family just making that place awesome. It couldn't be better.
And now we're going to take a quick pause for a word from our sponsors.
We'll be right back, eh?
Do you like destination racing?
Are you looking for an endurance event where you can camp under the stars and be surrounded by nature and be with your friends?
Perhaps staying in an on-site cozy B&B is more your style.
Well, look no further.
Grip Farm Fitness has it all and more.
Located just 2 hours northeast of Vancouver in the beautiful Fraser Valley.
Participate in one of their events or just come out for hiking, horses, or much more.
Book any activity your heart desires at www.grit-farm.com.
That's www.grit-farm.com for our Canadian listeners, eh?
And now, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
Welcome back, eh?
Now, so you guys obviously very experienced at World's Toughest Mudder Virtual, very experienced at the regular World's Toughest Mudder. Was this one a harder mental grind? Like how do you compare
really
that?
Interesting. Well, I mean, weather was definitely on our side, and I always find that weather is the determining factor at a Worlds. It doesn't matter where it is. It's cold in the middle of the night, right? But because we weren't in and out of water, it made things a lot easier that way. But because you're up and down the same stretch of road, it starts playing with your head. You're just grinding away. Those footsteps get heavier and heavier. You see that same rock that you kicked 5 laps ago, and you want to pick it up and throw it, but if you try to bend down, you're going to fall over. Weird things start happening in the night. You start seeing the shadows chasing you, which I don't really remember from a Worlds, because you're too preoccupied with, I'm freezing, or okay, what's the next obstacle? Yes, it's this one. How am I going to get through it because I can't get my leg over it? But just to grind away there's a huge mental block in there that you just you either got to power through or just shut your brain off and go. Although unfortunately, when you do shut your brain off, that baby shark does creep back in. I'm not going to lie.
That was bad. And what about you, Joe? Like, I mean, did you find?
Yeah, doing a real Worlds, there's that obstacle. That's I don't think I can do that one again. That just killed me the last time. You dread it and you fear it, and it does take it. It becomes a focus, and the cold and obviously being wet is different. So this was a different kind of suck, because we didn't have that. Oh, I'm scared of whatever it is, and that wasn't there. But just getting the body to do what the body doesn't want to do, that became the grind. So I mean, I was lucky. You mentioned earlier about this being the year of virtuals, and I've actually embraced it. I mean, I'm pretty lonely and I do a lot of things by myself. Anyway, being an only child, hey, we lost Joe.
Yeah, he's coming back. Don't worry.
Okay. So anyway, I did 3 virtual marathons and the 2 12-hour events prior to this. So I had some experience, and I did a lot of it on the road that we ran it on. So it was familiar territory. But I really excelled this year in this virtual world. I mean, it's weird not having crowds cheering you on for a marathon, but I set 2 PBs in marathon times and did well on the 12-hour thing, and obviously did well in this. So I'm not sure what it is that I digged. Digged, is that it? Dugged?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
For our age, that's okay.
About this format. So I'm actually looking forward to maybe another thing like this in the future, because it's a different beast. It's like nothing else, really. It's like a training run kind of thing, but it's not, because there's other people doing it at the same time, and that in your head. It's like, I'm alone, but I'm not alone, because other people are doing this across the world, and that's kind of cool. Like, that did enter my mind, that there were people in England and Germany and Australia or whatever doing this in different climates, and I thought that's kind of a cool thing. And I knew we had to put up good times because we had the perfect weather. So it would be embarrassing to get beat by somebody that was running in a blizzard too. So I'm glad we did well.
Yeah, and I mean, because you were supposed to go to like New York and Japan and Boston and all over the places, right? And I mean, obviously, like I said, COVID shot you in the foot there. To be able to still get in there it's amazing. Now, we've had a little trouble with Joe. He's coming in and out there. He'll keep trying. So, but I'll ask you this, Joe Perry. Shortly after the race, I went on the World's Toughest Mudder group, and they announced Laughlin and all that stuff. And I put out there, if somebody gets 75 miles at the virtual toughest, should that give them contender status for Laughlin? And I don't know if I was expecting this response or not, but predominantly it was like no. And I was a little surprised. I guess I was a little surprised. And so it became to me, how far do you have to go to be able to? Because I thought contender status was not a big thing. It's not like it matters that much, to be honest. So I thought that it would be okay. So in your mind, do you think like a performance at a virtual could earn you contender status at a World's Toughest?
I don't know. I mean, there's the fact that next year's going to be shortened anyway. So how are we going to earn it? Like, usually we have to do a toughest and do well. Is Philly going to happen? Is LA going to happen? Is Chicago going to happen? I don't know. They may have to toss this whole contender idea for next year. So I don't know. But on that topic, when we hit our 75, like, I was not embarrassed isn't the word, but I thought, I'm thinking of the people that got 100 miles at real worlds. Mm-hmm. And those are superhuman athletes, and like Ryan Atkins and all those guys. Like, so when I hit that, it's like, no, I didn't. I didn't get I'm not in the same level. So I saw some about bibs. Mm-hmm. They were going to give us the colored bibs. So, that's cool, but they better not give jackets, because those orange jackets definitely did not earn that. So I actually emailed Kyle saying, do not send, because we didn't earn that same level of achievement that they did.
Now for Joe Zack, you just missed all the best stuff. You were gone. It was fantastic. Joe Perry was delightful. He was super entertaining.
I even danced a little bit.
So, and this camera's a lot nicer than the one on mine, and
it is a good view.
It's not. Do I really look like that?
I'm gonna be honest. You look better. It was bad before.
I'm looking old for 27.
So what I asked Joe Perry, I asked him, and I told him I went on the World's Toughest group afterwards, and I put, is a 75-mile completion at the virtual toughest Mudder enough to earn your contender status for next year's World's Toughest in Laughlin? And I was pretty much met with negativity, and not like horrid negativity, but no, it shouldn't. And then the question I kind of threw out was, how far do you have to go to earn it? Because I mean, I was thinking specifically of you two. I never mentioned it on the thing, but I was thinking these two guys did 100 miles. Is that not enough? Like, how far do you have to go to earn contender status? Nothing more than contender status. So, I mean, do you think that what you did, or 75 miles, do you think any of that should qualify you guys for contender status for Laughlin?
Well, Joe's always a contender. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
He should just be given a lifetime's pass on that. But no, you know what? I'm fine with it not getting contender status because they are very different things. And
yes,
really, if you are able to do that at the 24, just running out and doing the virtual, then you shouldn't have a problem getting it at a 12-hour. And when we get them, when they finally let us in the mud in May or whatever, if they're going to have to push it off until August, then yeah, we'll just get our contender status then.
but and as Joe Perry said, let's take the consideration the fact that they may not, or let's say the only ones they can get in is LA and maybe somewhere south, and that's something that maybe we can't get to as Canadians get across the border. I personally believe that if you've gone, what do you guys, I mean, 75 miles, that was just an arbitrary number I threw out. But if you did 100 miles, to me, there should be no question that you should qualify for contender status. You've clearly shown that you are of an athletic ability to run for 24 hours, and that contender status. Now, I agree. Joe brought up, and I was going to ask him this anyway, so I'm glad he brought it up. Gold jackets or orange jackets or whatever color they are, no, absolutely no. That's a different level, and I totally agree.
I would be a little embarrassed receiving it.
Exact words Joe used.
Okay. We talked about this before in notes.
Yeah. Now, what about the bibs?
Oh, yeah.
Bibs are okay. So, and this is where I'm, it's a tightrope to walk, and it's a fine line because
put an asterisk beside it, and I'm okay with it. But they better put a big V in front of the WTM on the bib.
And I think that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, I think that's acceptable. So, having done all that, and like you said, second and third place, you guys did amazing. That was unreal. So let's move on to next year. Laughlin, are you both signed up yet? Everything booked, ready to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think we booked our hotel. Where are you staying, Joe?
Yeah, we just found a place and got free cancellation on it.
Didn't basically everyone already sign up in the same hotel?
Arizona found a place there.
Deanna sent it to me, sent me the link, and I told her to send it to my boss so Em could take care of it because I'm not allowed to play with the credit cards. It's probably a good thing.
So that's good. And now, how does the goals for that? Do you think you can come close to replicating your effort, at least the effort level? How do you think the effort level will transfer? If you put forth that same effort level in Laughlin that you did in where is it? Wallaceburg? In Wallaceburg. Which I guarantee that's going to be the only World's Toughest Mudder ever held in Wallaceburg, unless there's COVID again, and then it'll probably happen again next year.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, that's quite the venue.
I'm not guaranteeing a lot, just a little bit. And like most races, it's not a real guarantee. It's a lot. So how do you think that effort level, what do you think if you put in that same effort level, it'll translate to for performance down there?
Joe, have at it.
Okay.
See, I know. I'm asking real questions. It wasn't all just crap, eh? I know.
Stuff oozing out my ear right now because so little known fact, I have a spreadsheet, and this spreadsheet contains all kinds of stuff. Like I keep track of all the people that I cross the finish line with at a Tough Mudder. So I've got over 400 names of people that I've met that I've finished a lap with. And I just keep track of goofy, arbitrary things like that. And in all of my runs, I log all my runs, I record all my races, I compare races and that sort of thing. So every run that I do, I look at the stats and stuff. So looking at this past year with COVID and being shut down, I've spent more time training this year than ever before. And my results have been great. They've been virtual races, but like, again, my top 2 marathons have been this year. Like I did a 3:16 and a 3:19 in September and October.
You did do a 3:19.
Yeah. So
freaking nuts.
I think I can say that I'm in the best shape ever right now. So best shape ever version of me got 100. I'd like to think that I can still get better. I don't believe in getting older, like Joe doesn't get older. So I personally always look to get better. I know I'm old, but I refuse to accept the fact that I'm done and I'm on the downward slide. I think, nope, I'm still going up. There's still room for improvement. All the distances out there, all of them, I think I can still beat my best. So that's how I motivate myself, thinking, okay, that's what I did last time. Next time is going to be a little bit better. So I want to get back to 75 miles for sure, because that's my baseline, and anything above that would be gravy. Not going to be 100, but 70, 80, that would be great.
I would think that would be totally attainable for you. Like if you put in that same effort level and that kind of mental grit that I saw, that's definitely attainable. I mean, obviously a lot depends on obstacle difficulty that they put out there.
Weather.
But you're going back to the desert, so I mean, you're not going to have Atlanta weather.
Yeah, but 2014 with the sandstorm.
Yep.
Buy goggles, man.
I had them. I had goggles walking through. Unfortunately, mine were swim goggles and they were tinted, and I'm walking through this greenish hellscape. Thought I was on a different planet. Tents blowing past me.
That's what got me through. I was squinting the whole way just to get through there.
Oh, jeez. I was lucky. I never went till 2017. It was fantastic weather, and I still managed to get hypothermia because I'm a moron. But that's all right.
Well, hey, so, I've made some rookie mistakes in later years, and it is what it is. I got too, as I said, I'm not a sentimental person. I was too sentimental about this white compression shirt that I wore in Atlanta, and I wore it too long. And it was heat gear that I bought for the desert, so it's supposed to keep the heat off you. Well, wearing that into the colder Atlanta night, and my forearms cramped up, and I couldn't grip anything. But again, just because I like the shirt.
Nice. Actually, and I'll ask you guys quickly. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it's still kind of on topic. When you guys did World Toughest Mudder in Atlanta, how did you feel about the whole gamification with the carabiners going everywhere and all that stuff? That's because, I mean, as a spectator from the outside looking in, I know if I was competing in it, I would have not liked that. Like to me, if you make a difficult lane on an obstacle and you can earn a carabiner that way, slick, that's awesome. But just throwing them in the mud and doing dances and telling jokes. I mean, how
I got my first one from doing a dance. Actually, I think I still have it. I attached to my Tough Mudder bag.
So, how did you guys feel about it?
Probably
Did you
clean
think,
that thing out.
I just throw it out, dude.
It was interesting. It was a lot of fun, and I'm curious as to how it would have affected like the top tier, those guys that were the top 10, and competing for the podium and stuff like that. But it's never been there for me. I've always been competing against myself. And did it get me past Devil's Taint a couple times? Yes. And am I thankful because that was the worst obstacle they had there? Yes. Would I use a carabiner on that again? Absolutely. That was awful. I mean, I loved it, but it was I found that was the biggest energy sink of the entire race. But yeah, do a tough lane to make you earn it. Maybe if have a contender's bib, that's the only way you could earn them. Everyone else have the game. Maybe that's the way to go. But you know what? We're all just big kids playing in the mud when you get right down to it.
Yeah, that's always been the fine line that Tough Mudders had to walk. Is it a team fun event or is it a hardcore competitor event? It's hard to merge the two worlds together, where someone can go out there and have fun and personally challenge themselves, and the others that are going for prize money and trying to win it. And how do you make those two mesh? So what I've heard, what they're going to do next year is have two different categories. They'll have the fun version, whether we get another color bib for being competitive and we don't get the opportunity to earn those carabiners, and those that are just doing it casually, that they have that other option. So the only people eligible for age group awards would be those that are doing the competitive version of it. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully there is a way of making it so everybody's happy and everyone comes away feeling satisfied and they have
nobody will ever be you'll never get everyone happy.
No.
This is the age of the internet. You should know this.
I do think Joe is right, though. I think that's the plan they have for this year. And honestly, it's probably the best way to do it, is just let the people decide if you're going to be a contender or not. Yeah. And that makes the question I had posed as to mileage a moot point, because you can go out yourself as a contender and decide for yourself. And I think that's the way it should be. And if you are a contender, then people shouldn't be throwing carabiners at you. You shouldn't be able to exchange them in the pit. Like, oh, here, go do a quick lap. Like, there should be none of that. It should be you earn it or you don't. And I'm glad they did that, because struggled with Tough Mudder where I had this feeling where I felt like they were a little bit pregnant when it came to their competitive things. It was like, it's competitive, but if you don't do the obstacle, there's not really a penalty. And then like the tougher waves were always something I always was, yeah. I had issues with those. So I like what they're saying. I like what they're planning to do for Lawton. I think it's going to be a really great event. And other than that, guys, I think that's about all we really have time for. And is there anything else you guys want to put out there? Anybody you want to thank or anything you want to say to anyone out there?
Everybody.
Is he about to sing?
Yeah.
You say everybody dance now? I would have danced.
I thought you would have got a carabiner.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No. Like I said, this Tough Mudder means the world to me, but Worlds is just the epicenter of my life. And I've told people that the Boston Marathon is a training run for World's Tough Mudder. Some people hate me for saying that, but it's true. This is my time to shine, and everything I focus, all the training, it's like that's the end goal. So it was rewarding to have the event for one thing, then to have so many good friends with me. That it was the best 24 hours of this year. Sucky year, but that culminated in my whole year. So I'm so glad it came down and we had so many people show up like you guys. That meant a lot to me.
Well, it's really just a testament to you, and I'm probably going to say more MJ than you because that's why I was there. But no, you look at the people that came out to have fun and play in the virtual mud with you, Joe, and that's what it is. And like you said, the year was kind of a letdown because all the big events that we wanted to do, we couldn't do. And to even set up a virtual toughest and a virtual world's toughest, and for you to open up your home and your barn and your grounds to having us crazies just go there and have a run of the place is just, I can't thank you enough, because just doing it out of my garage and running out and doing the loop that I did I'm not going to say anything bad about the Ultravirus because I love the Ultravirus races. I did a few of those too during the year. But I wasn't looking forward to doing that again on my own. It's really the people around you that enable you to do that kind of thing. And that's how it's always been for me. I don't like running on my own. In fact, if I have to go on a run by myself, I play Pokemon Go because why not? It makes me feel productive.
Yeah.
But I'd rather go out and do a really slow jog with a bunch of people and just have a good time. And that's what it felt like coming to your place. Just not that it was slow, but just having a good time with people and just going. And I can't thank you enough for doing that.
Well, and we got to thank Dave too. I mean, we had an amazing pit crew. They
You know
had
what?
everything covered for us. We didn't have to think. We just had to come in and like they just said, "Here, do this." Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, thinking's never been my problem. It's
well, you know what?
yeah,
honestly,
coming in and having the pit crew just yell at you, "This is what you got to do," and you're like, "Okay, sweet. Yeah, let's go." How do you spell World's Toughest Mudder again? Do you have they had the printout with it there, so just match up the matchsticks on here.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
paint by
I
numbers.
still had typos.
You know what? But I think that's the best way to finish this. Is it was all about, again, we didn't have the giant World's Toughest Mudder community, but we had our little community, and that made what could have been a very tough year a really good one. And like I say, Joe and MJ and Alan, you guys were the worst, and your parents, of course. I mean, you guys were amazing. The food, the hospitality, it couldn't have been better. The lasagna, oh yeah. Anyway, so let's end it on that. And thank you both for doing this. I was a bit of a work getting it together, but it was definitely worth it. You guys are great, and I was just happy to witness both of your accomplishments because you guys just kicked ass. You definitely were not your average Joes. So, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the BeastNet Canadian Edition podcast.
Please click on subscribe, like us, and feel free to share the podcast with others.
Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify.
We'd also love to hear from you on who or what type of content you'd love to hear on the show on upcoming episodes.
The BeastNet Canadian Edition podcast is proudly brought to you by
Grit Farm Fitness.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at beastnetpod.com.
That's beastnetpod.com.